Many women over 50 have a pair of earrings sitting in the back of a drawer that they would never dream of wearing in public. Too big, too gaudy, too strange looking for anyone to take seriously anymore. Most people assume those pairs belong in a donation bag, or worse, a scrap bin, and they move on with their day without ever giving the pair a second look. But what if the ugliest earrings in your jewelry box are exactly what serious collectors are hunting for right now? What if the very reason you shoved them into an old candy tin or a forgotten pouch is the same reason a specialist would grab them off a table in an instant? Before you give them away, melt them down, or let them sit forgotten for another decade, take a closer look. Jewelry trends move in circles, and the pieces that feel the most dated right now are often the ones that were made with the most care, the heaviest metal, and the most patient craftsmanship, simply because they were produced during a period when quality still mattered more than speed. Here are 8 earrings that look almost embarrassing today, but can be worth a genuine fortune in the right hands. Number 8. Carved Bakelite dangle earrings. I want to start with the pair that almost everyone mistakes for cheap plastic from a dollar store bin. These are the thick, chunky carved earrings from the 1930s and 1940s, usually in deep butterscotch, cherry red, or root beer brown, carved into leaves, dots, or twisted rope shapes that look heavy and slightly clumsy by modern standards. Most people pick them up, notice the plastic feel and the outdated color, and set them right back down without a second thought, assuming they belong in a costume box rather than anywhere near real jewelry. That instant dismissal is exactly why so many genuine pairs are still floating around in estate sales and inherited jewelry boxes, untouched and unappreciated for generations. What most people do not realize is that Bakelite was an early plastic that took real skill to carve, and the deep saturated colors it produced can no longer be reproduced the same way using modern manufacturing methods. The test collectors use involves a hot pin or rub of the surface, since real Bakelite gives off a distinct chemical smell that cheap modern plastic never does. A simple trick that separates the genuine article from a look-alike in seconds. Clean, well-carved pairs and strong colors commonly sell in the $150 to $600 range. And rare colors like deep red or the harder-to-find polka dot and marbled versions can climb well past $1,000 when the carving is crisp and the piece has no cracks or chips along the edges. These are not the earrings that will make headlines, but they are the perfect reminder that plastic does not automatically mean worthless, and that the ugliest looking material in your jewelry box might be the one collectors are quietly chasing at estate sales while everyone else walks right past it. Dealers who specialize in this era will often tell you the same thing, that the pieces sitting in the discount bins at flea markets are frequently the ones they end up buying for themselves. Number 7. Sarah Coventry oversized clip earrings. These are the big, boxy rhinestone or enamel clip-ons that almost every household seems to have at least one pair of, usually tucked into an old candy tin or a velvet pouch nobody has opened in years. The name Sarah Coventry tends to get a shrug from people who assume it means basic, mass-produced, and not worth a second look, since the brand was famously sold door-to-door at home parties across the country. That assumption is only half true, and the half that is wrong is costing families real money every single week. While most Sarah Coventry pieces were sold in enormous quantities and were never meant to be rare, a small number of limited runs and discontinued designs from the late 1950s and 1960s were only made for a short window before being pulled from catalogs entirely. Those specific styles, especially ones with unusual color combinations or figural shapes like birds and flowers with fine detailing and hand-applied enamel work, are the ones collectors actively track down today across auction sites and specialty forums. Ordinary pairs might only bring $20 or $30 at a yard sale, but the rare discontinued designs in excellent condition have sold for $200 to $400 on specialty resale sites, sometimes more when a full matching set survives together. The lesson here is simple. Not every mass-produced brand is worthless, and not every rare piece from that brand looks rare at first glance, which is exactly why so many valuable pairs get grouped in with the ordinary ones and sold for pocket change at a garage sale. Number 6. Georgian-era rose-cut paste earrings. Imagine finding a pair of small, dark, almost dull-looking stone earrings in an old box, set in blackened silver that looks tarnished beyond saving and hardly worth the effort of cleaning. Most people see the dull shine, the strange old-fashioned setting, and the lack of any real sparkle, and decide the pair belongs in the giveaway pile without a second glance or a moment's hesitation. What they are actually looking at in many cases is genuine paste, hand-cut glass designed centuries ago to imitate diamonds before modern cutting techniques existed anywhere in the world. The rose-cut style, flat on the back with a domed, faceted top, was painstakingly done by hand, and the foil backing behind each stone was individually placed to maximize whatever light the glass could catch in candlelight, since electric lighting did not yet exist. Surviving pairs from the Georgian period, roughly the 1700s through the early 1800s, are increasingly rare simply because so few have survived intact for 200 years without damage loss, or a broken setting. Authenticated examples and original silver settings regularly sell for $400 to $1,500, and pairs with documented history or unusual design work have reached considerably higher at specialist auctions catering to serious antique jewelry collectors. The very dullness that makes people overlook these earrings, the aged silver, the soft glow instead of a bright sparkle, is the exact evidence collectors look for to confirm real age, which is why the least impressive-looking pair in the box is sometimes the most valuable one sitting there. A quick polish under bright light can sometimes reveal foil work still intact behind the glass, a detail that instantly tells an expert the pair has never been altered or reset. Number 5. Scottish agate and pebble jewelry earrings. These are the earthy, banded stone earrings set in silver or gold, usually shaped like ovals, shields, or simple geometric drops that look more like something found on a hiking trail than something worn to a dinner party or a special occasion. Most people see the muted browns, grays, and reds of the natural stone and assume the pair is either costume jewelry or a forgotten souvenir with no real value beyond nostalgia and a vague family memory. That assumption misses an entire category of jewelry that experienced collectors take very seriously and actively seek out at estate sales. Scottish agate jewelry, sometimes called pebble jewelry, became popular in the Victorian era when Queen Victoria's fondness for the Scottish Highlands sparked a nationwide trend for jewelry made from local stone found near the region's rivers and hillsides. The best examples were painstakingly cut and polished to showcase the natural banding of the agate, then set into detailed silver mounts, often shaped like thistles, shields, or Celtic knotwork that reflected the romantic spirit of the era. Genuine 19th century pairs in strong condition with intact silver work typically sell for $300 to $900, and pieces with unusual stone combinations or particularly fine silver work have sold for considerably more at auction. Before you dismiss a pair of dull, earthy stone earrings as something a relative picked up on vacation decades ago, remember that the least flashy stone in the room is sometimes the one with 2 centuries of history behind it. Even chipped or slightly worn silver mounts rarely hurt the value much, since collectors expect some honest wear on a piece this old, and often see it as further proof of authenticity rather than a flaw worth worrying about. There's a pattern forming here that I want you to notice clearly before we move into the 4 pairs that can genuinely change your year. In every single case, so far, the exact quality that makes an earring look unattractive to modern eyes, the dullness, the strange color, the outdated shape, is the same quality that tells a trained eye the piece is old, handmade, and rare. The value is almost never sitting on the surface where anyone can see it at a glance. It is hidden in the maker's mark, stamped into the metal, the way the setting was constructed by hand instead of a machine, and tiny details that most owners never think to check because they simply do not know to look for them. A trained jeweler or appraiser can spot those details in seconds, but without that training, most people never even know where to begin. That is exactly why having a simple reference guide on hand, something that walks you through what marks and construction details actually matter, can be the difference between recognizing a treasure and letting it go for a few dollars at a yard sale to a stranger who knows exactly what they are buying. If you want that kind of guide, check the link in the description before you go through another old jewelry box in your house. Now, let us get into the 4 pairs that matter most. Number 4, chunky 1980s Sinner rhinestone clip earrings. These are the oversized, densely packed rhinestone clusters from the 1980s that look almost aggressively loud by today's standards. The kind of earrings that seem designed for a shoulder pad power suit rather than anything worn now with a simple blouse. Most people see the sheer size and the old-fashioned sparkle and assume it is exactly what it looks like at first glance. Flashy costume jewelry with no lasting value once the decade it came from stopped being fashionable and moved on to something quieter. That reaction overlooks one of the most respected names in unsigned quality costume jewelry still active in the industry today. Cedar earrings were made using the same setting techniques found in fine jewelry, hand-set stones, sturdy pronged mountings, and rhodium plating that resists tarnish far better than the cheaper gold wash finishes used by mass-market brands of the same era. Even when a piece is unsigned, the weight, the precision of the stone setting, and the quality of the clasp mechanism are usually enough for an experienced dealer to identify it correctly within moments of picking it up. Clean, well-preserved pairs typically sell for $150 to $500, and larger statement designs with unusual stone colors or documented provenance from the brand's earlier decades can bring considerably more at a specialty auction house. The lesson with this pair is that loud does not mean cheap, and some of the boldest, most dated-looking rhinestone earrings in existence were actually built to the same standard as fine jewelry, just without the fine jewelry price tag attached at the time they were originally sold. Many owners are shocked to learn that a pair they assumed was a $5 flea market find is actually a well-preserved example that a dealer would happily buy on the spot. Number 3. Hobe filigree rhinestone drop earrings. At first glance, these delicate but heavily ornamented drop earrings can look like something a costume designer might have used for a period film, are all curling metalwork and small rhinestones arranged in elaborate patterns that feel completely out of step with anything worn casually today. People inherit a pair, admire it for a moment, and then quietly set it aside as too old-fashioned and too fussy to ever wear again in normal daily life. That reaction has caused countless genuine Hobe pieces to sit untouched for decades in boxes that never get reopened. Founded in the early 20th century, Hobe built its reputation on intricate filigree work and hand-set rhinestones long before mass production took over the costume jewelry industry and changed how these pieces were made forever. The filigree metalwork on the better examples was created using techniques closer to fine jewelry than typical costume production, with each curl and loop shaped individually rather than stamped out by machine in a factory line. Signed Hobe earrings in strong condition regularly sell for $100 to $450, with early examples featuring unusual stone colors, floral motifs, or particularly intricate metalwork reaching significantly higher prices among specialized collectors who follow the brand closely. What seems fussy and outdated to modernize is precisely the handcrafted detail that tells a collector this piece was never meant to be ordinary or disposable, but built to last for generations of wear. Number 2, antique carved shell cameo drop earrings. These are the pale, oval-shaped earrings carved with a raised profile, usually a woman's face surrounded by flowing hair or classical drapery, set in simple gold or gold-filled mounts that most people associate with their grandmother's jewelry box and little else. The carving can look worn, the color can look yellowed, and the overall style feels so far removed from contemporary jewelry that many owners assume the pair has only sentimental value at best and nothing more. That assumption ignores just how much skill went into producing a genuine antique cameo by hand, one careful layer at a time. The finest 19th century examples were carved by hand from a single piece of shell, usually sourced from the Mediterranean, with the artist working in layers to create contrast between the raised figure and the background, a process that could take days for a single high-quality piece to complete properly. Mass-produced modern cameos, by comparison, are often molded rather than carved, and the difference in depth and detail is immediately obvious once you know what to look for and hold both side by side. Genuine antique, hand-carved shell cameos in original gold mounts typically sell for $200 to $800, and especially fine examples with intricate detail, unusual subject matter, or documented age can bring well over $1,000 at auction when collectors are competing for the same lot. Before you assume a pale, worn-looking cameo is simply an old-fashioned keepsake gathering dust, remember that the faded color and softened detail are often the clearest signs of genuine age, rather than a flaw to be embarrassed about. Number 1. Heavy 1940s retro rose gold scroll earrings. This is the pair that upsets me most when I hear how it was treated, because it happens more often than people realize, even among families who should know better. These are the large, sculptural gold earrings from the 1940s, thick scrolls and bold geometric shapes in warm rose or yellow gold that look almost cartoonishly oversized compared to the delicate jewelry most people wear now on a daily basis. Families inherit them, glance at the heavy, old-fashioned design, and assume they are simply outdated pieces not worth keeping, sometimes selling them off for scrap without a second thought or a proper appraisal first. With gold trading near $4,000 an ounce, a solid 14-carat pair from this era already carries substantial melt value before any collector interest in the retro design is even factored into the final number. What makes this category particularly painful to see undervalued is that retro-era gold jewelry from the 1940s was often designed with real weight and solid construction, a direct result of wartime metal restrictions that pushed designers toward bold, chunky shapes using less platinum and more available gold at the time. That distinctive retro look, the one many people find outdated today, is now highly sought after specifically because it represents a short, well-defined period in jewelry history that cannot be recreated. Solid gold retro earrings in good condition typically sell for $800 to $3,000, depending on weight and design. And exceptional examples with fine detailing or designer marks can bring significantly more when the right buyer is looking. Before letting a heavy, old-fashioned gold pair go for scrap price at a counter, have it weighed properly and shown to someone who understands both the metal value and the collector value of genuine retro design, because the gap between those two numbers can be the difference between a small payout and a life-changing one for your family. Now, I would love to hear from you, but do not just say all of them or none. Be specific. Out of these 8 pairs, which one do you think might already be sitting in your own jewelry box, your mother's old dresser drawer, or a forgotten box in the back of a closet somewhere in your house right now? Maybe it was passed down from a grandmother, or maybe it is something you bought decades ago, wore for a few years, and then quietly stopped reaching for as styles changed around you. Sometimes the earrings we consider the ugliest in the entire collection turn out to be the most valuable ones we own without ever suspecting it. Have you ever had an old, unfashionable piece appraised and been shocked by what it was actually worth once someone who knew what to look for finally examined it? If so, I would genuinely love to hear that story in the comments below this video. Stories like that are exactly why so many people keep going back through old jewelry boxes, because every so often